Time flies when you're having fun. We're going to come to questions from the floor in a moment. But do you feel that you're getting better at it?
Well, like any job that you're doing for the first time, yes, of course you do. Yeah. I don't know anyone who was at their best on their first day. And in fact, you should be worried at anybody who's at their best on their first day. Yeah. I mean, just even understanding what we were dealing with, what the landscape was going to be. But it's getting clearer and clearer, the direction the country is going. It's very hard to be in opposition if you can't see what it is you are opposing. And you look at the last budget, there was a lot of talk about growth. We haven't seen any growth. There were all sorts of measures around planning. Those things aren't happening. Nothing's happening. We are in stasis. People are leaving the country. I mean, the FT had 1 in 8 business leaders, was at the Telegraph the other day, 1 in 8 business leaders leaving. That's appalling. So it's becoming clear what we need to do. We need to be the party of growth, the party of business, and we need people to hear our message. We also need to acknowledge that we made mistakes in government. You will remember a lot of the things I was banging my head against the wall about. I'm now in charge, and I've started junking all of the silly things which happened, and I've got lots more good stuff that will be coming in due course.
Fantastic. Let's go to questions from the floor. There should be paddles going around giving scores out of 10. So can I have a question, please? Question. On the right number, paddle number. Oh, in the front. And please say who you are.
Stephen Hay, the Association of Manufacturers of Domestic Appliances. Kemi, you talked about deregulation, and essentially, you did a lot of work in this area when you were in government. And the Secretary of State also spoke about the fact that he was looking to cut the red tape. But in effect, we're seeing quite a strange situation with regulation at the moment. We're seeing, obviously, great divergence between the UK and the EU. We're seeing regulatory burden, we're seeing regulatory drag, and this cutting the red tape seems like a pipe dream at the moment. So how do you feel about that? Because we certainly are feeling the burden of regulation and duplication of effort, left, right and centre. And this is costing business, and especially manufacturers, a vast amount of money.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that was supposed to happen after leaving the EU was the divergence should have been in our favour. That did mean us becoming a lot more competitive. And instead, because of lobbying from various pressure groups around the environment, tax and so on, we've ended up trying to compete on regulation by showing that we can do even more. It should be the complete opposite. UKCA, for example, as a certification, as a way of certification, was supposed to free you to do those things. I think a lot more effort needs to be put in there. But to be honest, quite a lot of what is burdening businesses, apart from red tape, things like the Employment Rights Bill coming along, it's the basics. It's energy costs, far too high, unbelievable. 4 times the industrial energy prices of the US. Our oil and gas industry is completely disappearing. We need to get very serious about energy. We need to look at the fundamentals. What's happening on energy? Yes, tax overall. Working, flexibility in rules, removing the red tape, making sure that we are staying competitive and that we're attracting the right businesses here. I do worry about manufacturing in particular. I think we're forgetting how to make things. I think a lot of people are thinking it's too difficult here. China is eating everybody's lunch, not just our own. What do we do about that? But what I want you to know is that when it comes to deregulation, we are serious because people like Andrew Griffiths, my shadow business secretary, and I have come from the private sector. I left banking because I stopped being a systems analyst and ended up being a de facto compliance officer. It's not what I wanted to do. There is way too much regulation. It is not growing our economies, and we need to start thinking like businesses. We've come from business backgrounds. We know what's going wrong, and we just need to move very, very quickly because things are getting worse at a pace that is deeply concerning. Thank you.
Another question, please. Number 3 is charging to the back.
Good morning, James Birchwood, Telon Capital and Chair of the CBI Business Rates Committee. We've been behind the slab to slice driver and change. One area that we've heard very little from you has been about business rates, which is obviously a huge impact on businesses. I was wondering whether you have any strategy or thoughts or thinking in respect of changes to business rates.
Right. Well, I'm very disappointed that you haven't heard much from us on business rates, because I did announce a lot on business rates in my conference speech, as did Mel Stride. So thank you for asking that, because it gives me a great opportunity to repeat what it is we're going to do. We have said that we need to save the high streets. And the businesses that are suffering in particular are those on the high street. Retail, hospitality and leisure has been hit with everything from the jobs tax, minimum wage changes, and they are dying. And high streets are a visible signal of decline in many, many communities. We've got to save them. So our policy is to abolish business rates pretty much for the high street. Anyone whose rates are £110,000 or less, we would abolish that entirely. And that will, for retail, hospitality and leisure. Those are the people who are struggling the most. And that's one of the things that we know will actually revitalize the high street and ease the burden of business rates. What happened in the last budget with the changes, reducing the discounts and so on, caused a lot of stress for businesses across the country. In my constituency, many people just decided to give up. We cannot be in a position where we are causing businesses to give up because it makes sense not to work. We need to get Britain working again. Business rates is another area, like deregulation, where we can do better for a lot of businesses.
Thank you. Another question? Yeah.
Hello, Tanya Bowers, Association of Professional Staffing Companies. And certainly we support you in your comments around the Employment Rights Bill and how it could destroy jobs before it makes jobs. My question is around industrial strategy. The last government had a bit of a suspicion of an overarching national strategy, which we've now seen with the current government, and the previous talk was around some of the innovations arising from that. As a previous business minister, what's your position on a national industrial strategy?
Thank you, Tanya. It's a really good question. I mean, what we saw was industrial strategy changing every 2 to 3 months to the point, 2 to 3 years, to the point where we couldn't call it a strategy. Businesses need certainty. And between Brexit and COVID and a war in Ukraine, it was just going from pillar to post. I think that the best industrial strategy is keeping things simple. That's why we've got a cheap power plan. Driving energy costs down is the one single thing that will make life easier for everybody. I don't believe that government should be picking winners, but I do believe that government needs to create an environment for businesses to win. Right now, we're setting everyone to lose. And I think that we're setting everyone up to lose. That needs to change. So right now, the biggest thing that we think can be done that is an industrial strategy is our cheap power plan. And the Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, has done a fantastic job showing how it will save a lot of money for household bills, but also bring industrial prices back down to more sensible levels. That will then spur growth, stimulate manufacturing, and do a lot more than governments taking bits of pots of money here and putting them in places where it's not actually enough to make a big deal. I don't think lots of businesses scrabbling around for small pots of money is an industrial strategy. Let's focus on something simple that everybody understands, and that's what our cheap power plan is.
Another question? May have to be the last, depending on the length of the answer.
Okay, hint taken.
Hi, I'm Diana Vernieto, Edify Collective Education. But actually, I wanted to ask a follow-up questions regarding the high street. We have seen after Brexit, the duty-free VAT removed, and this would actually seen how France has been thriving, especially on the luxury. What we will do about this in order to, this is a low-hanging fruit to really give the high street a little breather and the luxury industry in the UK. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is one of the things which I see as the Treasury never properly modelling dynamic effects. So I was a junior minister when that was brought in, and there were lots of officials running around saying, oh, when we leave the EU, lots of people are going to be doing tax-free shopping. It's going to be terrible for us. And I was saying, no, this is a good thing. More people will come in, more people will shop, we will make more money. I lost that argument. And what we saw was tax-free shopping removed to the point where we are now losing business to France, to Italy. I know lots of people who have said that their businesses on the high street closed. This is London high streets mostly, Oxford Street and so on. It closed. They're just basically shop windows. People are looking and maybe shopping online or going elsewhere. This has to be fixed. So Andrew and I are looking at it. I was very much against the tourist tax. I don't think it's really raised any money. We have lost a lot of competition. It has been bad for the high street. Many people will know when I was business secretary, I did a lot of work with the British Retail Consortium and other luxury goods associations to try and fix this. I think it's something that we can fix.